catch up on things that you might have missed, or share it with your friends and family and community members so that they can keep tabs on everything that's going on. So I think we're ready to begin right now. I'm going to go to my PowerPoint. Can folks see my screen here? Does it look okay? Great. So thank you again for joining us. This is the second meeting that we've had for the Chicago Works Community Challenge. And today we're focusing on the West Planning region of the city of Chicago. So the Chicago Works Community Challenge is a $10 million community investment initiative. We are hoping to, or we're planning to fund up to $10 million for the entire city, and each region will be awarded $1.5 million, up to $1.5 million for one of the projects in this challenge that have been submitted by the community. So the targeted projects that we solicited from the public starting back in June are community identified enhancements to either a public park space, a Chicago public library, a Chicago public school with outdoor areas that are accessible to the general public as well as the students, or also projects for residentially zoned city-owned vacant lots. So the funding source for this project is part of the Chicago Works Capital Plan, which is one of the infrastructure programs for funding for the city of Chicago. And the selection process that has kind of gone into this so far is that we had a citywide evaluative committee members who we took in all of our applications from June until August 30th. And then we had experts from each of the sister agencies that we're working with. So Chicago Public Schools, Chicago Public Libraries, Department of Planning and Development for vacant lots, and the Park District reviewed all of the submissions. And then they scored them based on project viability, the needs of the community areas, the cost. We have a max cost or budget for this current project of up to $1.5 million. The type of impact it would have on the community, and then additional criteria that was, specific to park districts and public schools and each of the sister agencies that were evaluating these. So our current timeline for this is that we are hoping to fund 7 projects, which will be announced by the end of this year. And the goal is to ensure that the projects break ground or are complete by the fourth quarter of 2022. So we're very excited to kind of share all of the projects that were submitted for the West region and the semifinalists tonight. Let's go a little bit more into detail here about our timeline. So to recap, our applications launched in June of last year, or excuse me, June of this summer. We then had a webinar on the 9th where we asked community members to attend to learn a little bit more about how this process would work. We convened our evaluation committee of city and sister agency representatives over the summer. And then the application deadline was August 30th this past summer. So we then screened each of the applications based on, basic criteria. Is it a city-owned property? Does it belong to the Park District or the library or the Chicago Public Schools? Is it a project that could actually be achieved up to the $1.5 million budget? So each of the committee members scored the projects kind of from, September into early October. And then our semifinalists were announced last week. And so here we are today with the second of a series of 7 community meetings where we're going to be presenting these semifinalists to the community You're going to be able to ask questions of the folks who submitted these projects. And we will then be releasing a survey to the community as well, which you'll be able to complete, share your feedback, share it with your neighbors, so that we can get a good sense of how these projects would be used in your area. And then after November 9th is our last meeting, our last community meeting. So from November through early December, we'll be basically looking over all of the feedback that we've received from the public. And then we have a team of a selection committee who will be making the final selections, which will be announced in December. So just to give you a little bit more background on where all of these came from. So we actually had over 500 submissions for these projects. Of those 500, 239 were complete enough and had enough information for us to share them with the evaluation committee. And then they were scored by each of these teams. So you can kind of see a breakdown of where the number of applications came from. The Southeast region had the most, followed by the West, where we're here today, followed by the far South, North, Northwest, Central, and Southwest. And then you can kind of see a breakdown of what types of applications came in. We had a great number for vacant lot projects, followed by the Park District enhancements, Chicago Public Schools, and Chicago Public Libraries. So there are a few requirements that kind of went into some of this initial screening that we went through. The Chicago Works funds that we're using are specifically geared towards infrastructure. So what we consider that for the most part is brick and mortar expenses. So examples of these would be playground equipment, park path replacements, field house improvements, or library space modernizations. Ineligible costs would be anything related to programming. So, events, things like that, that would be not eligible for this project, or different types of equipment. There's kind of a range of things like that. So, we're not able to purchase computers, specific furniture or plants for this type of specific infrastructure. So each of the city people who reviewed these processes, the departmental reviewers, they had some criteria that we developed where they were ranking them and answering them. And then this feedback went into kind of an aggregated score sheet. So we were asking, is this property within the purview of your department, agency, and the community challenge program? Yes or no? Is this project financially feasible? Can it be completed up to the $1.5 million budget? Does the project propose capital improvements that are bond eligible? So that's what we were discussing earlier. Things like computers and decorative plantings are not bond eligible. So they had some scoring that they went into there. Are there significant barriers to development at the site? So, those could be complexities like with vacant lots, is it, have dirt that needs to be cleaned and remediated so that, it's a healthy spot where people can gather, that type of thing. Is the design ideas feasible, and can be completed with design excellence as kind of a central concept? And, we really think that, communities have a right to have beautiful spaces, spaces that are usable. And so, we wanted to make sure that this was going to be something that would be a great enhancement to each of these communities. We asked whether it was operationally feasible. So would the project as described be manageable to maintain from an ongoing operational standpoint? So these costs, they can't really go towards additional staffing or, if there's a project where you would have to hire somebody to maintain a property outside of the folks who work in the park district, for example, or on the library, that wasn't going to be possible. So we asked them to score that. And then just overall qualitatively, is this project something that would be a strong addition to your department or agency's 2022 pipeline? So this was kind of an open space where we could, get just some general feedback from these experts as to whether they thought it fit well with kind of their current plans and objectives. The other evaluation committee members were folks from the mayor's office who were kind of looking at the larger general kind of community impact that these programs would have. So they were asking, was the application complete and, thoroughly done? Would the community, did these semifinalists reach out to members of the community or, their ward offices or, churches and schools, for, libraries, that kind of thing, where other members of the public gather to get input on the project? Would this space be one of neighborhood activation? So what we mean about neighborhood activation is is this going to be a space that is going to be an anchor and a benefit to the larger community area, not necessarily just the one entity, the school or park specifically, but will it have kind of a broader impact on the neighborhood, a positive impact? And then in terms of public use, do we think that this project would be heavily utilized by the public? So our three finalists that we're going to be discussing tonight are on three sites across the West region. So the first is LaSalle II Magnet School. And then we have Robert Nathaniel Dett Elementary School. And the last one is Columbus Park. So this is going to be the order that we're going to present our presentations in here. What I'm going to do first is do a quick overview of the project. And then I'll be inviting up the person who submitted it or the team that submitted it to speak to you for about 5 minutes. And then we can go into a question and answer session with each of those teams. So first, we'll go to LaSalle II Magnet School. So the LaSalle II Magnet School is at 1148 North Honore. The sponsoring organization is their school PTO. What they're looking for an area that they want to be improved is the playground needs to be renovated to improve the usability of the space, create a mud-free area for active play, and better organize the remaining space to allow for exploration by the students in the community. Their ideas that they have for this project would be to replace the grass playfield with synthetic turf, create a 1/8 of a mile running track encircling the playground. They would like to better organize the basketball courts to get a full court size and half court size, and then add seating and lighting to the area as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. And if the folks who are part of LaSalle School could raise their hands, and we'll invite you into the webinar as a panelist. Well, it looks we have a number of folks here. 1 second. Just checking here. Oh, sorry.
Lauren, could you let us know who else from your team is on the call?
I believe Eric and Natalie should be on.
And is that all?
I believe, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Natalie, let's see, looking for a name. Natalie. Oh, okay. Looks like you should be in. Is this your team, Lauren? Great. So please, we'd love to hear from you about your project. Oops.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Dr. Albany, the principal over at LaSalle Il Magnet School, and I'm here on behalf of the school and our PTO to talk a little bit about our project. So I'm going to go ahead and present, pull that up. Can everyone see that? Thumbs up. Awesome. So a little bit about our school so you can kind of get an idea of who we are. We are in the Westtown neighborhood. We have over 600 students, pre-K through 8th grade. So we do span quite a large age range. One of the things we love about our school is our diverse population. I've broken everything down by percentages, but you can see we kind of are a melting pot in terms of where our kids come from. One of our big focus of the school is the world language program. So our kids take Spanish, French, Mandarin, or Arabic throughout their time at the school. The school playfield. So what you are looking at now is an aerial view of the playfield, and you can kind of see to the right, that's our current, if you want to call it a field at this point, mud pit. It's in really, really bad condition. I can't, overstate that enough. It's unsafe. You can kind of see down below, there's divots, there's water retention. The pictures you're looking at actually show it in what it actually looks decent for itself. As the winter goes on, it gets worse with the snow and the rain. It gets way worse to the point where our kids cannot go out there. We've tried hard to get grass to grow. We had a group of parents that spent a whole summer trying to get grass to grow in there. Unfortunately, it did not work because we learned that 10 inches underneath the surface, there used to be a building. So there is a foundation there, so grass cannot grow. If you look kind of in the middle here, you'll see the basketball area. That's also in disrepair. There's holes where the kids would play. It's in bad shape as well. So we're kind of looking at this whole area to the right, mostly. And then our upgrade plan, we kind of have already a sketch laid out. We would like to turn the existing playfield into a synthetic turf field. That would allow us to be able to use it, obviously, all year long. Upgrade the basketball courts. The basketball courts are well loved by the community, which we love, but we'd like to be able to have a full court because right now it's 2 half courts. We would like to add this running track to go all the way around the space. This right here, you see these little half circles. Those are going to be permanent seating. We have noticed that a lot of our playground is used very heavily on the weekends and in the evenings by parents of young kids, and we'd like for them to have a place to sit if they need it. We basically came up with this design after talking to local community members, our school community, etc. And this is kind of where we're at with that. So one thing I love about our project is the impact. Obviously it impacts the school first and foremost. We've got 600 kids. We love to be outside. You'll hear from my parents that I always say, dress your kids warm because we're going out in the winter in Chicago because the kids love it. So obviously it benefits them. We have a sports program. We'd love to be able to have practice on site, have games on site. But I think what's really neat is our school is a magnet school. So you can see on this left-hand side map, all the red dots are where zip codes on where our kids live. We represent 43 zip codes across the city, especially heavy, obviously, in the whole West region, which is the region we're obviously in competition for. A lot of kids in that region come to us. So we love that we can touch so many different areas of the city with our space. Beyond that, we are very lucky to have a supportive neighborhood. So our neighborhoods, you can kind of see the 2 pictures. There's a Google image that has a red dot. That's where the school is. There is not any open space within a 100-block radius of the school. There are 2 new fields that Clemente High School and Wells High School put in. They're multi-million-dollar projects. Unfortunately, they are closed to the community, so no one can get on them except for the school. But ours it's open now. It would stay open to the public. We love to have the public on site, and we're looking forward to kind of continuing that partnership with the neighborhood. So we want to make sure this project is a success. So we've already been engaging local community organizations to make sure that this is something that the community wants and wants to be involved in. The First World Alderman La Spada has given us his blessing, the East Village Association, Westtown Chamber of Commerce, Wicker Park Committee, obviously LaSalle II School. We do have a neighborhood petition going on. It's got over 900 signatures and growing. So we do want to get the word out about this and make sure that, you know, what we're doing fits with the neighborhood and it's something that people want to see. And I do want you to hear from our awesome students. They have a few words to share.
This is our school field. If we get our field renovated, this can be beneficial for our school and community, and more people want to bring their kids here. Especially with the small academic center outside, students can be warmed by the sun. The sun gives you vitamin D, and vitamin D gives you happiness, and our school loves happy students.
I think this new field would actually motivate kids or students to actually exercise. I feel like this new field would create a lot of new sports experiences, and it would make students more active during outside activities.
Also, with the new field, our students will be safer because our field right now is very slippery and muddy and is very unsafe and is a big hazard for students trying to play sports or just walking the track.
As you can see, this is our field that needs a bit more renovating. This new outdoor renovation can impact the school and community by having more options on what to do during recess and the evening hours.
And on top of that, renovating our field will make it much safer for children to play out here because there are a lot of divots and our track isn't the best, so kids do tend to fall and hurt themselves.
And like Ruben said, it would be a lot easier for kids to play different sports without a lot of sun.
Yeah, you saw our field. It's just a little unpleasant. And I think renovating it would just encourage more outside time, and that's better for everyone.
We'll be able to play on the field for all years.
All right. So yeah, we were excited that they wanted to participate. The kids have a lot to say about this. And, you know, I think with the COVID-19 pandemic, we've all realized the importance of, you know, outdoor space. And so I think this is really, we've been wanting this project for years. Literally, we've been talking about it for 10 years. So it's a blessing and we're honored to even be considered this far in the project. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Did you want to share anything else, or would you, Eric or?
Yeah, I can just say a few words. So I'm Eric Monson. I'm the PTO president for the PTO, and you know, as Dr. Albany already shared, and as the children shared, this would be a great improvement to our school, allow for better physical education and just a general school environment, and from a safety and usability perspective. But also, you know, I am a resident of the neighborhood. I live right up the street, and we use the park, you know, all the time on the weekend and the evenings. And it is very popular with the community. And I think the upgrades for not only for exercise for the adults, but open spaces to play, because as Dr. Albany mentioned, there's just not a lot of places that you can go run. That I learned the hard way during COVID, when the parks were all closed and you had no place to go. You realize how little open spaces there were. So this would benefit our community quite a bit. And so I thank DPD and the mayor's office and everybody for this opportunity. As Dr. Albany said, you know, this has always been almost an unattainable goal for us. And so to give an opportunity to try to get this would really make a big difference to our school and community.
Great, thank you so much. Leah, did you want to see if there were any questions?
Yes, so as of right now, no questions specific to this project. There are a few general questions and we'll get into that at the end. But lots of support in the chat for the project. So love to see that. I'm not going to go through and read every comment, but a lot of positive comments in the chat. So thank you.
Great, thank you. So just want to have one last chance if anyone wanted to submit a question specifically for the team from LaSalle. Otherwise, we'll have an opportunity at the end to have some questions answered as well. So I think we're good. Thank you all so much. We know this was a tight timeline to turn things around. It was just a week ago that we announced this, so we really appreciate you putting in the effort tonight. So with that, I think I'm going to send our LaSalle team back to the attendee room. And then we will move on to Dett Elementary. So 1 second.
Also want to give a shout out to Alderman Laspada, who I believe is in the audience and just sent a chat. So thank you so much for attending.
Okay, so if the Dett team, you could raise your hands and we'll bring you in. Great, thank you. All right, hello, Alice, welcome. I'm just gonna go back to share my screen and go to the next slide just for a little background first. Okay, so project number 2 is the Learning Garden at Dett Elementary School. The property is at 2131 West Monroe. The sponsoring organization is the school itself. Areas for improvement that they're interested in are they would like to transform the vegetable garden into a larger learning garden and help promote a holistic approach to mental health, as many of the students are underprivileged and may not have access to those types of specialty services. Details, a larger learning garden would bring more awareness to children about the importance of healthy eating, positive lifestyles, and violence prevention. And the garden could also create landscaping job opportunities. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Alice, you have the floor.
Good evening, and thank you, of course, for this invitation. We're really excited. I am now going to see if I can share my screen with you. I think it goes like this. Okay, I think everyone should be able to see it, correct? Great. Well, good evening. My name is Alice Jordan, and I am part of the Near West Side community. Today, we're specifically focused in on the Dett Learning Garden. The history of Dett is it was named after a great musician with African descent, and the school, the original school, closed in 2013 and has been now merged with Herbert Elementary. And so now that building carries the name of Dett Elementary. The school campus has always had a garden, but it hasn't been attended to in years. This is with the current state today. As everyone knows, we're in really unprecedented times, especially with technology. And we know that nature brings us peace and calm feelings, but yet we are relying more on a virtual experience. And I had the opportunity of moving to the neighborhood and having a yard, so I know what that value is, but I also grew up with other experiences. And so kids today may be missing out on some valuable opportunities of watching the fruits of their labor grow from seed into full bloom. I also think there's a huge value and for kids to be able to put the devices down, being able to wander and just wonder about looking at flowers and plants and vegetables, and over time, the value of that investment. Through that, they're going to be able to have a hands-on experience through science. It pushes it past just textbooks. Creativity, growing a yard, it takes planning and creativity. Patience. Today we're in such a immediate with technology, we can get things in a snap, a text message, right? That there was a time where you would be put on hold. They get to see this organic process, the power of nature, and understanding the power of the sun, what the sun does with water, oxygen, and how that gives the food for the plant. Not only just the aesthetics too, like the beauty of flowers and how calming they are. When I first moved in the area, I had this unmanageable yard, and once I started landscaping, neighbors came up and thanked me. For me, it was an eye-opening experience. So beyond the aesthetics and beyond the education, there's also, I think, an important element is just healthy food, learning how the organic food, the organic process of growing your own food, and how that is so impactful and healthy for our bodies. This also could be a gateway for kids to be able to learn how this experience could turn into a future job, not only just with landscaping, not only just farming, but even in a creative field, knowing exactly from an artist standpoint, what exactly does a sunflower look like? So it's just beyond just the tactical experience. Another neighbor wanted to also mention just the benefits of recycling. When you work with a garden, you have to know how to recycle and to see the benefits and the economy of that, and how the world is, the nature does have that cycle. Let's see. So here are the pictures of what the garden looks like today. And I think this is a lot of opportunity. We could have this could be all flowers on the left-hand picture, and then we can certainly work with the tree, and maybe plant a fruit tree. I'm not sure if, we'd have to obviously consult with the school and the space. What's interesting about this project is that we're in a community that does have a huge need for tons and tons of infrastructure, but the value of just the small steps and how that can be the ripple effect for something bigger and inspiring and bringing a morale boost for the entire neighborhood. Not only is it the visual, but also just the gift that we are getting, and that this creates an opportunity and an actual space for the community to come together. The area has had some struggles over the year. Unfortunately, we've also seen a dramatic increase in violent crime, but this is one way that the community can have their voice and show that we want to have a positive and healthy environment. Just even the visual impact of seeing people work in the yard, not only that, but also what it produces. The garden will counterbalance the difficulties that we're seeing and also promote better healthy lifestyle practices. There are also a lot of homes in the area that don't have green spaces. Either they're condominiums, whether they're apartments. So we have a community garden currently that is often well supported. So this would be a great addition, a sister project. Tui Herbert Park, which neighbors Dett, is a beautiful park. So I think in keeping that spirit through gives a nice aesthetic and also gives a nice unity. Long-term benefits, there's a lot. The community currently is short on programming for kids. This would be amazing. We also could having the city spotlight this community will be a huge boost. Teaching gardens have been proving to be meaningful and impactful for student bodies, and I think and even beyond. It's a great opportunity for the community to build partnerships with the school. I know a lot of community members would love to have more mentoring opportunities with the local kids. As we become more dependent on technology, we're losing touch with the values of hands-on work. This community garden should lead past to residents that don't even know that exist. So in looking at it from an overall standpoint, it would be impactful. It's not only what we see is what we believe. People will see the fact that this garden, which has been neglected over the years, is now thriving. It creates a conversation. It gets people involved. It gets kids to be able to sit and look and take a moment and consider beyond their phones or their tablets and beyond what nature can offer. and be a great building block for this community as we continue to move forward and grow. And lastly, thank you very much for this opportunity. We're really excited to be here.
Great, thank you so much. Let's see. Do you wanna, I'll stop your sharing. Were there any questions that came up specifically for this project?
Yes, there is one question. Is the teaching garden part of the school curriculum, and how will you maintain impact throughout summer months? And then a little bit more about further engagement around children in the community who may not attend the school, I presume.
Got it. So we'll go with, is it currently part of the school curriculum? It's not, but we would like it to be. That would be, the biggest audience would be the Dett school, and this is would be geared for. Right now, we have a transitional leadership in the school. So if I think at the same time, they're also the interim school principal is also very on board as the previous one, engaging with the community. So not currently, but I think it wouldn't take much convincing. I think you had asked about maintenance, about like longevity in the summer. Yes. Currently, we have a lot of active community members, and particularly with the Park District Advisory Council. And so not only are they maintaining the Jelly Bean Garden, they also did summer programming. So they did a Zumba class, a yoga class, and a fitness class each week. So there are more people that want to get involved than there are opportunities. So, and the last part about it is that so many people don't have green space. They get so excited to be able to plant. A lot of people love to garden and don't have that opportunity because they live in a condo and apartment. So we've been wanting a second opportunity for multiple years.
I think that the other one was the last kind of part to that was around the community and engagement, but I think you kind of covered that in your previous answers. There's also one question, not specific to your group, but just around the cost. And I just want to outline that all of these projects are expected to be up to 1.5 million. So everything is already deemed eligible and within the scope. So that's something that you can kind of keep in the back of your mind for everything.
And that's the other thing is with the learning garden, it can be extremely cost effective. And there's no cap. I mean, there's very little capital improvement, and it's just it's more of the sort of the biggest part about it is just the teaching element and the experience and feeling it than creating like an actual infrastructure or like a field or something. It's already there.
Understood. That makes sense. And like I said, every project is within the budget and have been deemed to be mostly eligible costs. And we can get into that a little bit more at the end if there are additional questions. Thank you so much, Alice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so going to send you back to attendee. And then we have our final presentation, which is related to improvements to Columbus Park. So let's see, we have, there's Samantha, bringing Samantha in, and then I'll give you a quick overview of the original proposal. Samantha, are you there?
Oh, yes. Oh, trying to turn my camera on. Yes. Hi. Hello.
Hello. Great. Glad you could join us. Let me just switch to my slides for 1 second. Great. And so our final presentation for tonight is Columbus Park renovations. The property is Columbus Park, which is at 500 South Central Avenue in the Austin community. Samantha is the person who brought this project proposal to us. And some of the ideas for improvement are Columbus Park is Austin's largest green space with outdated structures. The basketball and tennis courts have damaged fencing and nets. There is a need to modernize the park for the residents of Austin. The community would like to add amenities such as permanent performance stage area, an outdoor movie screen, and renovated basketball and tennis courts, sculptures, lighting for night events, and Wi-Fi equipped seating areas for students was also an idea. So you can go back to Samantha, and we'd love to hear from you about your ideas.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. So I've lived in Austin 5 years now. My daughter has gone to school out here for 7 years. So I am a resident. I'm an artist as well. I'm a songwriter. So 2020 was the year of just learning about my neighborhood, my community. And a lot of what I learned, I did not like. The main words were disparities, disenfranchised, disadvantages, and desert, food desert. So Austin has been through a lot over the decades, and we are in the midst of a revitalization effort to recharge this community. It is beautiful, it is vibrant, the people are tough and resilient, and Columbus Park is one of the few landmark parks in the country. So, and it hasn't had any updates since the 90s, I believe 91. And I think they just added just a little area, not much. So I had taken some pictures. It's right across the street from Loretto Hospital. So just the thought of having a beautiful walking trail. Right now the fences are damaged on the side, and it's right along the expressway, the Eisenhower. So it's just very unsightly. And other than that, it's just so much open space, and all I can see is the opportunity. There wasn't a lot of pictures to be taken because it's really just trees and grass and greenland. So Austin has 93,000 residents. Our population is mostly African American, and then we have a growing Hispanic population. So with that comes conflict, and it'd be great to have spaces where we can come together, learn each other, celebrate each other's cultures, and Columbus Park would be a great place to do that. Another thing I want to point out is to be in the middle. Austin is located around a lot of thriving communities. We're bumped against Humboldt Park. We have Belmont Cragen above us, Cicero below, and we're right next to the Oak Park. So to see all those thriving communities and know that you are just in this, for lack of a better word, a dead zone, where there's not a lot of green space. They are closing grocery stores left and right. So it was important for me to find something that the community would like to get behind. This was actually a suggestion from Tina Augustus, who is the president of Austin Chamber of Commerce. She was like, yes, do Columbus Park. If we can get it, that would be amazing. They are currently repaving Central Avenue. So just imagine a brand new street, a brand new park, what that would do for a community who is really just fighting to stay peaceful, to make sure our children have somewhere that's nice, clean, where they can create and express themselves. And we want that. We see it all around us. So this would be a chance for us to kind of create our own identity, to promote health and wellness with the walking trail, possibly. There's a football and a baseball field, 2 baseball fields, no bleachers, no concession area. There's several incubators on the west side for small businesses, for food industry. It'd be great to have a food area where food trucks could come, set up for events, and we can show off West Side businesses so we can create wealth and keep it in the community. So much of our money, we spend $100 million in Oak Park alone because businesses are scared to come in Austin. So we as a community have to show, no, you have good people here, hardworking people who deserve fun, relaxation, tranquility just as much as any other neighborhood. So I went for this. This is like me shooting for the stars. And when I received the notice that I was a semi-finalist, I am over the moon excited. People at work, I recently started working for West Cook Home Ownership, and we help with housing and emergency rental assistance, and they were blown away. So like the buzz that's going around, everyone is excited, and just the possibilities are endless. What can be done with 1.5 million in a place that hasn't seen development in 30 or more years. So that's basically the idea, is just to spark and just reignite this passion for us to bring ourselves up and create a community that defines us, not defined through white flight. A lot of it just seems like we came in after everyone left. This would be something that's made for us. This is something that we would be proud of and take care of because we had a say in it, and we were put first at the forefront of thought. So that's basically it. I just want to have something where we can enjoy each other, and learn how to love each other and take care of each other.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Leah, did you have any questions?
No questions right now that seem specific to this project. Some great feedback in the chat and a lot of great support. So that's wonderful to see. And it's nice to see that across all the teams. But Samantha, a lot of good support in the chat for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I did want to mention that, the Chicago Park District, we know that this is a landmark site because there was a famous landscape architect who designed parts of it. But just if anyone had any questions, there is a proposal version of this that the Park District thinks can happen still, and would not infringe on the historical landmarked areas in a significant way. So there is that was part of this vetting process. So in case there were just any questions out there about that, the Park District is aware of that and thinks that, if this project was awarded, there is a version that is possible for Columbus Park. So I think, if we have any other questions, were there any that we wanted to address for ourselves or for the Chicago Works Challenge team? Leah?
Yes, there are some general questions that we can get into now or at the end. Gabby, up to you.
Okay, I'm going to send Samantha back to the webinar attendee. Thank you so much. Second. And I'm just going to go back to my PowerPoint again one more time here, just to run through our final few slides. So the next steps in this process, we want your input as the public of the West region. We want each of you, we will be publishing a post-meeting survey, which we will send out to you tomorrow morning. If you wanted to go tonight, you could also access it tonight, I believe, on the Chicago Works website, which is chicago.gov/Chicago Works Challenge. The survey will ask for your input on the following scoring criteria for each project in your district. Would the project lead to greater community activation? And so that's the idea about, is this going to catalyze kind of a sense of community, a sense of well-being for the residents and neighbors around the area? And then there's a question about, would the project also be heavily utilized by the public? So is this, a site that you think would get heavy foot traffic and, anyone coming there to actually use the facilities themselves? So there's also going to be an opportunity to add additional comments that don't necessarily fall into those two categories at the end of the survey as well. We did have a few more photos just to recap. Here are some of those from the LaSalle playground, which were shared earlier, I believe, too. And then these are other photos of Columbus Park. So that is the end of our presentation. Are there any other questions that came in?
Yeah, so a few things came up around other projects that were submitted, and I see a great comment asking to fund all of them. I did want to point out that the Parks Department, libraries, DPD, and CPS, who are involved in the review of these projects, are looking through the full list of submitted applications and really using that to help increase their pipeline and to help them know what to focus on and what the community really wants. So regardless of funding through the Chicago Works project, all of these projects are now kind of being looked at and reviewed. And so there are opportunities in the future, definitely. So I want to make that very clear. There are a couple questions that came up around who was on the evaluation committee, how was that chosen, and community engagement. Gabby, if you want to talk a little bit about who was on the evaluation committee, and then I think you also mentioned the community survey, but if you want to kind of highlight that one more time.
Yeah, since we're still in kind of active evaluation phase, I'll just keep it kind of general. So we did have basically folks who are in charge of, the facilities and kind of the built environments of the Chicago Public Libraries, of the Chicago Public Schools, and the Park District. So there were representatives from each of those groups who were involved, and they're experts really in their fields. They have that kind of highest level of knowledge of terms of cost and feasibility of projects. And then we also had members of the Department of Development who evaluated vacant lot projects, which were not part of this specific semifinalist category today. And the lead planners for each region were also involved, the planning team, to just kind of, as we mentioned, the city of Chicago is divided into 7 planning regions, and that was really to focus our planning department's energies on a much more micro level so that we could truly plan out some of these areas and activate them in ways that you can't do that if you're kind of just broadly trying to tackle the entire city of Chicago. So the lead planners were involved in this. And Leah, myself, and Adam have been the project managers. So we did not score any of the projects. We're just here to kind of usher the community through the process. So and then the next step is that the evaluation committees will reconvene with all of this group of experts, and then there will be kind of some decisions made with some of the DPD leadership, as well as representatives from the mayor's office as well.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you so much, Gabby. There's another question around the number of surveys submitted and webinar attendees, whether that will have an impact. The short answer is no. Each project is only competing against others in their region, and all of the surveys and webinars are by region. So we're not looking at that. In terms of how the surveys will be utilized, the evaluation committee, which Gabby just mentioned, will be looking at all of the survey results as they whittle it down from these 3 semifinalists to that 1 finalist, so that all of that will be taken into account. And there was one question around whether each region will get at least 1 project, or will some have no projects. Yes, each region will get at least 1 project. So that is those 7 regions that Gabby mentioned, each will get 1.
Yeah, and just to go off of what Leah was saying is, we're really looking for quality of responses and not necessarily quantity of responses. If you can get it out, your surveys to your community and your neighbors, that's great. But we really want kind of thoughtful feedback about all of these projects. So, we don't want any of the semifinalists to feel pressured to get thousands and thousands of people filling out these forms. It's really just kind of the thoughtful feedback that we're interested in.
And to that point, all of the feedback we receive can help the relevant departments kind of mold the project, can help them as they think about other projects in the region if they get some high quality information around what the neighborhood is looking for. So these surveys are obviously relevant for this, but they're also broadly relevant to each department as they think about how to engage the community and looking for kind of key projects.
Yeah, and as we were discussing before, we're really viewing this as like a potential pipeline for possible future projects as well. As funding becomes available, as the ability to execute some of these, it's possible that they will also be included at a later date. So we were very excited about each of these semifinalist projects, and we're just really thankful that all of these teams put together the time to, submit their ideas.
One last question came up in the chat around how we access the surveys. So we'll send all that information out after this. That should be coming from Gabby at DPD. So please keep an eye out for the link, and it will also include a link to this webinar.
Yes, yeah. Tomorrow morning, since we're getting a little late at this point, we'll send you all of that information. And so we're really excited to hear all from you. Again, this is our first week of doing these community presentations. So truly thank you to all of the teams today. We're very inspired by your dedication to your communities and your wonderful ideas. And we know it was kind of a quick turnaround. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And with that, I think we're done. Thank you.